On the Arts, an hour of discussion and discovery about the arts in St. George and Southern Utah. And now your hosts for On the Arts, Michael and Christina Harding.
Good afternoon, St. George.
Hello.
This is Michael Harding.
And this is Christina Harding.
Here for On the Arts, that
Yes.
show that is dedicated to blowing the lid off of all of these little artistic secrets that we have here in Southern Utah.
Yes.
And we actually have a very exciting guest in the studio today.
Oh, I'm excited for this one. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Someone I've had a really good time actually researching, not in a creepy way. I do have to
Just a little
emphasize.
bit creepy. Yeah.
But one of the questions that we do ask all of our guests before we begin is there something that you want us to stay away from? And I find that I often have to assure our guests that I'm not doing hard-hitting journalism. I'm not here to blow
We don't
any
know how
lids
to
off
do
of any
that.
other secrets.
No,
Yeah.
we have no idea what that is.
We still don't know how to host a radio show.
Yeah, we're still
This is-
figuring this out.
Right. But I do want to say we are here to let you know of opportunities that you have not only to participate in artistic ventures, but also to witness artistic ventures. And by that, I mean going to plays, going to concerts, knowing who the local artists are that are out there working and sharing their arts and such. Now, I do have to say, I'm loving today with our Seattle sunshine out there, as we say.
Seattle sunshine. I like that.
Absolutely. This puts me in such an artistic mood.
Oh, moody.
Absolutely. I absolutely love it. I was walking over to the studio today,
Yeah,
and I
it's
just
beautiful.
thought, I kind of don't want to go inside.
It's a beautiful day out there today. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a day for soup and hot chocolate and a good book.
And this is actually my sloppy segue into our announcement for some events
Sloppy
that are
wet
happening.
segue. Uh-huh.
Sloppy wet
Because it's
segue.
wet. Uh-huh.
But I'll tell you, tonight, something I'm actually very personally proud of is a production here at Dixie State University called The Wake of Jamie Foster,
Yes.
a play by Beth Henley.
Yes.
We've been working for about 8 weeks now putting
Yep.
this play together. And I have to say, and I'm not saying this hyperbolically, but as a director, as a teacher, I am very, very proud of this project.
Yes, they've worked hard.
These students, occasionally, you're always hopefully proud of the work that you're doing. You're always hopefully proud of the efforts that people are putting in. But I have to tell you, every once in a while, you have a product and a project that just clicks. That the students involved or the participants involved, they just go a little further than you even expected or even hoped to want.
Yeah.
And this is one of those experiences. This is
Yes.
one of those very personal experiences that I think would be wonderful to share.
I understand that your students actually rehearsed on their own, even outside of rehearsal. They were so set and excited for this show that they met on their own, too, to run lines. And they've been dedicated since day one. They've been so dedicated to this project.
I have to tell you, that was really inspiring, a little scary as a
Yeah.
director to find out that work was happening without me there.
And they all liked each other, too. They get along great. The tech crew. Yeah, the tech crews worked hard on this project, too.
And that's a rarity.
Yeah,
I tell you,
yeah.
when everybody's getting along
Yeah.
and supporting everybody. And that's where I think really great art can happen.
Now, I just have to say, we watched a dress rehearsal last night of the show, and I understand one of the actresses did hurt her leg. She actually broke her leg last night.
Yeah,
But
please know that didn't happen during the show.
yeah, it happened before the show, but she went on last night, and you would never have known it. And this is a freshman, I believe. I believe she's a freshman, and she did it. She did the whole entire show on crutches. And it worked, and this team came together and produced this wonderful production last night. And I had audience members last night who came in to observe for the pre-show, and they thought that, or the not pre-show, what is the
pre-show talk?
talk?
The-
Yeah, I can't
or
remember.
the preview.
Preview. I'm thinking of the wrong word here, but they people had come and watched it last night and were thought it was part of the production. And they had no idea that she actually broke her leg. And we're laughing now because she's fine. She's in pain, but she did a great job. But the way your students came together to pull this production off and support this young actress was wonderful. Yeah,
It's really inspiring,
Yep.
actually.
that's what it's about.
And I think one of the greatest lessons that came from it, not just for the students, but for anybody who's out there doing any kind of art, is that if you really truly have something to express,
Yeah.
if you have a story that you want to tell and you have a certain way you want to tell it, people are people and there's a variety of people.
We're all human.
Does it really matter
Yeah.
if one of the characters is on crutches?
Yeah.
They're still people.
They're
They're still
human. Yeah.
the characters that we want to portray.
Yeah, we're all human and things happen. And
Right.
I was amazed to watch how they changed their blocking last minute and how they helped her on stage. And it was interesting because you'd mentioned, you'd mentioned that we hope the cast will break a leg as a joke. And it actually came true. But I was amazed that these are just young, early 20s and they're students. Some are seniors, getting ready to graduate. But they all came around and rallied around her, and it was a beautiful production. And she's going to, of course, be on crutches for the rest of the show. But wow, what it added to the show. Yeah.
It was pretty extraordinary. Now, I do want to give you some performance details of that. At 7:30 tonight, as well as 7:30 tomorrow night, Friday, and 7:30 on Saturday night, there will be performances of this production. And then as well on Monday evening at 7:30 p.m. Tuesday, there is no performance, but Wednesday through Saturday of next week at 7:30 p.m.
In the Black Box.
At the Dixie State University.
They're Dixie State at the Eccles and the Black Box Theater.
And please know, seating is limited.
Very limited. Yeah.
And we've had some very good, positive response to this piece. So I would get your tickets beforehand at the Cox Performing Arts Center. Now, all of this is, again, a sloppy segue into talking about our special guest that we have here in the studio today. I always, of course, try to think about some kind of personal experience or something that relates to the guest that we have. And I have had to do some pretty tremendous stretches here and there, especially when it's a guest that I don't know. And today is the first day I've actually met our guest here in the studio. And I'm going to go back in that Wayback Machine that I usually go to for these monologues. And I'm going to go back to when I was an undergrad. And this was, of course, in Virginia. Now, even though that's clear across the country, I think young people are young people wherever you go. And
good point.
I'm going to bring up the idea of romance as seen through the eyes of a college student. And I remember there was a young lady named Laura Serafino. Now, if she's listening, I seriously doubt she is. I think she actually lives in Australia now. I'm not kidding. If she's listening to the radio right now, I maybe this is great that you hear this. But I remember she had, I'm happy to say, a crush on me. And I knew about this. And she kept telling me, I just want you to know how I feel. I want you to know how I feel. And finally, she wrote me a song to show how she felt. And I have to say, this is where I'm making my embarrassing revelation, I guess my embarrassing confession to the world and Laura, if you are listening. I thought it was a pretty generic song. I really did. It was a 1-4-5 song, and she put a flute on top of it. And I thought, well, it kind of sounds like every other song that I've heard.
Not with the flute added on top of it.
Wow.
But I do have to say, to this day, I'm touched by the fact that she wrote a song she wanted to express. And what that gave me, I remember that was the first time I had really dealt with somebody writing an original piece of music that I knew, not only for me, but just to truly express.
Wait, are you hinting about something?
Would you like me to croon you?
Yeah. Do you want me to write you a little song?
Well, let's think about this. But no, you express to me every day how much you love me. So really. I want you to know I hear that. Yep. But what that did is it actually started, and that was over 20 years ago that happened. And it's come to the point where I really admire and respect people who express themselves through music, through original songs. And when I say, I didn't mean it to sound as diminutive as it was, but as far as it being a generic song, I think everybody knows people who write music. I've written some songs. Everybody's written a song. But how special and how wonderful when you have an experience, whether it be professional or amateur or really a friend or a stranger, how wonderful when you see that look in their eyes and you realize they are purely genuine as they're expressing themselves with their music. And this is my sloppy segue, but I've only done research up to now on our guest, Lindy Butler, who is a local singer-songwriter who has some pretty impressive credits to her name. But I have to say, in all that I've watched, seen of her videos and things of that sort, she's got that look. And I think that is absolutely admirable. And I'm really thankful that you decided to join us here in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad.
And I hope that these aren't too generic. I'm nervous now. I got quite the critic.
Just ignore him.
I'm going to say, I want you to know, I actually felt bad after I said that, but I did have a point. But Laura, if you're listening, we can chat about that.
Laura's not talking to you anymore, but
those
that's
first songs, though. it's a learning curve. You gotta have those. I need to edit this. Have you ever read Anne Lamott? She wrote. She's a writer and talks about writing, helping writers get into the craft, and it's shizzy. So crappy first drafts. You got to get those crappy first drafts out of there.
Yeah.
And then you can get them. And
yeah, that's
move
right. Just do it.
And, get on to the songs you were born to write. And
Lynn,
sing.
I am so glad you did this show today. I've been watching you, and I admit it, on Facebook. I think I friended you on Facebook through another friend, Michaeline.
Yes, Michaeline. I love
and
her
I thought,
so
I've got to
much.
learn about this girl, and I thought, I've got to have her on the show. And I was so glad that finally you had a time open that you could come and be on this show with us today. Because I've been watching what you've been doing around town and hearing your voice, and maybe on a commercial or two, I've heard a little bit of you singing there.
The commercial, the jingles going.
Little jingles going. So, who are you, Lindy Butler?
I am, well, right now, I am a Buffalo skater. It's kind of a dorky
Buffalo skater.
Explain this to
Okay.
us.
Yes.
So, have you ever done those little spirit animal quizzes online?
Yes.
Or found out your animal totem?
Yes.
Well, lately I've been on this project. I have a new album coming out tomorrow. And it's called Buffalo Skater, and it's about just some happy songs and oh my gosh, it goes way back. Do you know Roger Miller's "You Can't Roller Skate in a Buffalo Herd"?
Yes.
It's an old country song. My mom used to sing that to us growing up, and it was to kind of snap us into a good attitude whenever we were grumpy, or to like clean the house. Mostly to do
That
chores.
made me very grumpy as growing up.
So anyway, she would sing this song, and it's just kind of stuck with me, and I sing it to my kids now too, and it's just kind of a pick me up, and so that was kind of one of the first little sparkles of this next project. And so I last summer I was invited to a gig on Antelope Island. Have you ever been to Antelope Island?
No.
Oh my gosh, you gotta go. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And there's bison and antelope, and it's just wild. It's a wild place. And I got to come play music. My friend Ranger Carl, invited me and my sister up.
Ranger Carl.
Ranger Carl.
Yeah,
what a
we
great
sang-
name.
Carl.
We sang songs on the porch, and there were just buffalo,
I
and
love
it was like just a really magical time. And so it was one of the little seedlings, I guess, of I'm gonna release a new album, and it's gonna have some of my favorite songs on it, and then some songs that I've written about just where I'm at in life right now.
I love how you just casually say, "Oh, I'm going to release an album of your songs." How many have you released?
Yes.
This is my fourth.
Fourth.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I released my first one in 2011, and I did it through Kickstarter. Have you ever?
I've heard of that.
Oh
I've
my
never
goodness.
used it.
Kickstarter is an amazing platform. It's just lots of creators, authors, filmmakers, just anyone who has an idea but doesn't have the funds can go on and say, "Hey, I have this. If you are kind of have a connection to this project, join me." And so I put out there on Kickstarter that I wanted to be a recording artist. I've been a singer. I've been able to sing songs around town and coffee shops and all, like just the gigs that you get when you're a small town artist. But I've never had the budget to record. And so getting on Kickstarter I got my music funded, my projects funded, and was able to share it with people all around the world, like people like 7 different countries and 15 different states, and I've been able to send off my little CDs, and it's been
fantastic.
so excind, and I'm just so grateful that exists. Because
Kickstarter.
Yeah, Kickstarter.
Oh,
There's lots of them. There's Indiegogo, or what's another one? Just crowdfunders. Patreon is another new one too. That is, it's kind of a subscription where you pay like $1 a month, and then you can hear the new songs or TV shows of
Wow.
Check it out. You will love it. You guys are supporters of the arts, so you might like actually spend too much time and money in those places because I feel like it's pretty special to be a small part of all of these different creations.
Yeah.
Well, when did you start actually writing music and such? Your first album was in 2011.
Yes. I started writing when I was in high school. I actually younger than that. When I was in elementary school, they had a reflections contest.
Yeah.
It was just a little thing for kids to experience, and I wrote a song called Sunrise. What was it called? Sunrise on the Ocean, I think.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was so silly and simple, but I loved it.
It was yours.
I won a little award. It was like a silver dollar plaque, and I loved it. I thought this is something that I felt very connected. Like this was something I was supposed to do. And then in high school, I had a really amazing teacher who was my the choir director, Terry Moore. He's still over at Snow Canyon High School. And he let me have a course. We made up my own little class to have a songwriting class, and I wrote the graduation song for our senior class.
Very nice.
And you wrote the graduation song?
Me and my friend, we wrote the song. And
what an honor.
It was really special and neat. And I don't know, I've always had a song to sing, and my family, sometimes it was obnoxious for them, and they were just like, wow, go sing that song somewhere else. But it was just always a part of who I am.
You've mentioned that Roger Miller was a big influence for you.
Yes, Roger Miller.
Has that been your style? Was that the style of the song you wrote for graduation?
Look
out for me, I'm in the world.
King of the road. Yeah. No, it was very more Jewel, more
popular of the time.
Yes, or more I don't know what it would have been. It was more inspirational, I guess. And a couple of when I was 17, Steve Seskin and Beth Nielsen Chapman. Do you know these writers?
I know the names.
They're wonderful. They have such great songs. Have you heard of SUSWA, Southern Utah Songwriters Association?
I don't think I have.
It's kind of gone the way of the buffalo.
Oh no!
It's gone kind of changed over the years. Probably 10 years ago, Sam Payne and
I know Sam
and Yvonne Wall. They were like the heart of the songwriters in our community in St. George. They had an open mic night at Blues Barbershop. It was a really neat time. But SUSWA hosted this songwriters camp, and they invited Steve Seskin and Beth Nielsen Chapman. Beth wrote "This Kiss," Faith Hill song.
I love
Steve
that
wrote
song,
"Don't Laugh at Me, Don't Call Me Names." All these great 90s country songs.
Yeah.
So they came, and I was 17 and went to this little writer's workshop and just fell in love with songwriting and who these people are. Beth shared a story about how she wrote "This Kiss" and then was able to still raise her family, didn't have to go around and tour that song, and then also was able to send her kids to college off of the money she made from the song. So I was so inspired, wow, she can do it all. And so I thought that was pretty neat, and I just kind of got the songwriting bug back then, and I had a band in high school, a band in college.
Like a garage band kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yep, garage, and then played at the St. George, what were they called? The
Art Festival.
The Art Festival. And remember years ago there was First Night?
First Night, yes.
Yeah.
I remember that
These
downtown.
are old school St. George.
You old St. Georgians.
I miss First Night. That was a lot of fun.
It was a cool time. But yeah. So, and then I've just been here and still doing my thing. And yeah.
Well, now we've mentioned commercials. Have you done commercials?
I've done several commercials.
So what commercials have we seen that has your voice in them?
Or heard that we've had voice?
Yes.
There's a Macy's commercial on TV right now that has one of my songs at the end. And it's been a fun little thing. I'll have people like text me randomly and be like, "Oh my gosh,
is that you?"
Yes. Yeah. And the guy who's the director or owner of Associated Foods, his name's Brett. Or Brent. Oh my gosh.
I hope he's not listening.
I know he's not.
He's a great guy.
The bee man.
The bee man. Yeah.
He's so great, and he even put my name on the commercial. So at the end of the commercial, it'll say "At the End" by Lindy Butler, and so everyone will be like, "Oh my goodness!"
Oh wow!
We
You
saw
could go buy
your
something
name.
from Macy's just because.
Did they approach you, or did you audition?
Did. They approached me, and the way that he even came across my song, it's kind of a neat story. He came to St. George and ran the St. George Marathon, and my song was playing at the finish line on just because some of the runners around town, because that song was dedicated to a runner who was killed training for a triathlon. It was a tragic story, and Braden Nelson inspired this whole journey. And anyway, Brent, Macy's guy, or Brett, whatever your name is, he heard it and then hunted me down and said, I love your song. Can I put it on my commercial? And I was like,
You're
of course.
like, yes.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it's Brett.
We'll figure it out before the hour's done.
Oh my gosh.
And we do have just a few minutes before we go to our first commercial break here. We've got about 3 minutes. And I'm just wondering, we talked about how you got into writing songs, but what about your musical training? Did you just pick up? Did you do this by ear or?
I have very limited training. I took piano lessons for years and years, and then when I went off to college, I didn't have a piano to take with me, so my parents got me a guitar, and I got a poster with all the guitar chords, and I just kind of taught myself how to plink around, and I still need to take lessons.
Wow. Well, wait a minute. Don't you teach too? I mean,
I
you
do,
are
and
teaching.
everything I've
That's
learned has been
fantastic.
from YouTube. And so, and I tell the students,
so
parents, like,
great.
I only know so much, and they could learn this from YouTube, like I have. And they're like, "No, we just want you to do it," and it's been a really fun experience.
But how great that you're teaching that to the next
my
generation, that you can do it.
It is it is like my joy to jam with children, and I have a little music barn in my backyard.
A music barn?
Yeah, it's like as big as this studio, and we'll just line up some stools and we'll rock out, and it's a good time.
I'll tell you, it's something that we've talked to many of our guests about, and I think is one of the most exciting things about this show is the work of the arts with children. And we've talked about kids with so many of our guests, and it's so important to so many of our guests. I've noticed in all of my research on you, you continually bring up the fact that these songs are for kids or the young at heart, and to bring out the children or the kid in all of us and such. I have to tell you, I'm really excited to hear a piece live here in the studio.
Wow, we get our own concert in here. Yeah.
And that's my teaser. We're actually going to do that in the second segment of our show after the news and updates and commercials that are coming up.
Yes, we have commercials now. We're getting used to this whole lineup.
Yeah, this is a brand new format for us, actually.
Official.
Yeah, we're official. Woo!
I do want to ask you as well, I'm giving you the teaser questions right now of what we'll get into next segment, but it mentions in several places on the web, everywhere that you are plastered around.
Everywhere.
Maybe I shouldn't say that about you with your kids listening. You're plastered all over.
Everywhere.
But I will
they
say,
know.
you say that your proudest achievement is not necessarily being a songwriter, but it's being a mother of 4, I believe.
Oh,
Yes.
And I think I know for me, when I became a parent, all of a sudden I was feeling things in different ways.
Yeah.
And I'd just be very interested to find out how that has affected your music and affected which songs that you actually write. That's it. Before we cut off here, are you going to be performing anywhere anytime soon?
Yes, I have a concert coming up April 12th at the Electric Theater. This will be my release concert for the Buffalo Skater album. I have so many wonderful guests coming, some guest artists, and my band. My band is they're the most talented people I know, and they're right here. They're local and they're
people.
just so. It's going to be a good time, and I want families to be there. I want kids to come, and it's because like you said, I think that it's really important to share the arts with our young ones.
I'm looking forward to hearing some
Hey,
more
we get to
details
hear
about
sing when
this.
we get
We're going to
back.
get some
Yeah.
families here. But now some commercials and updates.
Woo!
Just how buddy-buddy is the oil industry? With the man President Trump now wants to head the Interior Department.
They know him very well. They have direct access to him.
Since Trump took office, the oil industry has gotten most of what it wants.
Of the 5 issues at the top of the list, they've prevailed on 4 of them.
What Trump's energy dominance looks like on the next Reveal.
Reveal Weekly, Saturday mornings at 10 on Radio St. George 100.3. And now this health tip from Stapley Pharmacy.
Ladies, are you using makeup to cover your acne? Did you know that your makeup could be making your acne worse? There is a solution. First, identify which makeup product is causing the problem. If you have repeated small breakouts near your lips, it could be your lip balm or lipstick. If your blemishes are on your cheeks, forehead, chin, or hairline, it could be your moisturizer or foundation. If your cheeks are red and dry, the product you are using could be too strong for sensitive skin. Once you've identified the problem, ask your favorite pharmacist to help with your cosmetic ingredients. Waiting can cause permanent scars, so don't procrastinate. Do something today to get your skin glowing again. Let your local pharmacist help you pick what will work best. Stapley Pharmacy has your prescription for success.
Addiction is an epidemic, and the lines of communication need to be opened. I'm Heston Cherry, and Mondays at 3, we open up and share our stories from addiction to recovery to hope and resources. There is light at the end of the tunnel of addiction. Mondays at 3 on Radio St. George 100.3 FM.
Listen on your mobile device with the TuneIn app. Search for Radio St. George.
Welcome back to Radio St. George 100.3 with On the Arts. And now your hosts, Michael and Christina Harding.
And we're back.
Hello. Wow.
This is so fun.
Yeah.
We have a little theme song going on
I
here. and
know.
everything.
We're just legit.
I'm feeling a little too legit. I don't know
know.
what's going on. Now, we are here with our special guest,
Yes,
Lindy Butler, a
yes.
local singer and songwriter.
Poster up. I'm gonna show our
And,
poster.
and if you want to see the poster that we are exhibiting,
Yes.
I want to remind everyone that you can be listening to us on the radio, of course. And if you're hearing this, I'm assuming you are. Or you can check us out on YouTube. You just type in On the Arts with Michael and Christina Harding, and you can find all of our shows.
You can
Now,
see her-
I
there's
constantly say that we're in season 3 of this. We have had over 60 guests
Yes, we
in here,
have.
and
Yep.
I'm amazed by that
all
over the
from
last
this
year and a
area.
half.
Uh-huh.
And we have a wonderful lineup for you still coming up. A
Yes, in
lot of
April.
artists here. A lot of secrets we're trying to blow the lid off of
Yep.
here.
Guys,
So many wonderful
great.
people. So many wonderful people in this community.
You
Yeah.
can also check us out live on Facebook.
Oh,
if you
that's
go
a joy.
to Radio St. George, that's radio space ST space George. We are streaming live right now, but this will also be archived
Forever and
on
ever.
Facebook. And we'll also
Yes.
share this on the On the Arts Facebook
Yes.
page. So if you like what you hear or you want somebody else to hear what you hear, just let them know that that's where they can find these shows archived. We've got a lot of wonderful conversations out there with a lot of wonderfully diverse people.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask when they come on this show, what are we going to talk about? What are you going to ask? You know, what do we need to prepare? And the answer truly is, I don't know.
We just want to talk to our artists. Yeah, we find out so much information. And usually what I'm finding from this show is how much it inspires our listeners and those out there that are thinking about getting themselves back into what they used to do in high school or what their real passion and love was. It inspires them to start picking up the guitar or the piano or a pencil and start writing, or their computer and just start typing away at the keyboard and get them back into what they love, their passion. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's actually quite a wonderful segue. We talk a lot about segues on this show.
Segue.
But that's a
Have you
wonderful
ridden a
segue.
Segway?
I haven't ridden a Segway, but we need one.
I think we speak our segues. But I will say, we were talking in the last portion of this show about how important kids are to the arts and how important the arts are to all of us in remembering the kid that we all are, the kid who loved stuff and still does love stuff, a wide variety of things. And we talked about how you, Lindy, have mentioned that your greatest accomplishment is not writing songs, not singing, not doing jingles for Macy's, but it's being
grocery store.
We love grocery
Children.
stores. Yeah.
but being a parent, and we mentioned that you're a parent to four children right now.
Yes,
Oh.
four kiddos, and my oldest is going to be 12 in August, and my youngest is 3, and we're busy, and it's a lot of fun. Tomorrow, I release my album, and then we're going to have a roller skating party. So I have so many of my friends and family have contributed, like I said, to the Kickstarter campaign, and so a lot of them are coming to the roller skating party as well. And it's just
Is anyone invited to this?
Yes,
or is this,
everyone's invited.
Where's this going to be?
It's in Vail,
right?
7:00.
Okay.
And you can bring your wiggle cars and your scooters, and because if you don't know how to skate, because I don't know how to skate, I'm a little nervous.
Oh,
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
When was the last time you roller skated?
When was the last time?
I'm going to go back to even before Laura wrote that song for me a long time ago.
And isn't that sad?
Yeah, we
should
all
be
need to be roller skating
still,
more.
So
Very true.
I've actually never ridden a wiggle car.
You have not?
I have not.
Well, we have one in the garage. We'll get it out for you. Yeah.
Yeah, come on up.
Yep.
Let's wiggle above the gas station in Vail.
That's great.
It's going to be fun.
Well, I do want to say we promised last segment that we'd hear a song live here in the studio.
I'm so excited.
You may have heard over the last segment the occasional strum of a guitar over there and such.
I couldn't help myself.
We'll just open up the floor to you. And this song is called what?
This is In My Skin. It's about getting tattoos. I know that's not really a youngster topic, but they've seen tattoos and they are curious. I think this is a good way to like explain what those are about.
Right.
You can know where you come from, you can know where you've been, but that doesn't mean that you know where you belong. We all have a story, we tell ourselves about ourselves, and mine has illustrations to go along. Pretty pictures I get to keep forever, but I'll never convince my grandma that it's not a sin. I don't belong anywhere, and I belong everywhere. I belong right here in my skin. In my skin. It's an ancient tradition to use the pigment of your imagination to claim your tribe or celebrate victory. Don't ask me if I regret it, it's just a cover of what you haven't read yet, and I'll decide my respectability. Pretty pictures I get to keep forever, the one I planned out for years, the one I got on a whim. I don't belong anywhere, and I belong everywhere. I belong right here in my skin. If you had to stop and guess how many pictures are on this canvas, would it change your willingness to love me? Life is beauty, life is pain. Sometimes a picture helps explain 1,000 words that say I have a place right inside me. Now, these are all tattoos that my friends have. Snoopy on my ankle, it's not a label. Favorite quote of Shakespeare slapped on my rear. To tattoo or not to, that is the question. Sign of the zodiac on the small of my back. Eternal love does exist, it says so on my wrist. So the permanent for what's gone but not forgotten. Pretty pictures I get to keep forever, but that first one doesn't look quite like it did back then. I don't belong anywhere, and I belong everywhere. I belong right here in my skin. In my skin. Sometimes I feel like a walking contradiction, 'cause I don't belong anywhere, and I belong everywhere. I belong right here in my skin. In my skin.
That was absolutely wonderful.
It's delightful, yes.
It makes me want to have more live performances here in the studio.
I have one question, though. What is the Shakespeare one on the rear? That's what I want to know.
Yes, you'll have to.
Little secret there, huh?
Probably something like, to thine own self be true.
Something like. But, Lindy, that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, one of the things that I love about art and songs, especially local songs, and by that I mean not just local around here, but they're not necessarily the big, popular, huge, mega star songs, if you will, but the ones that really are personal and close and being sung to someone. I love it when they bring up images in your own mind. And I have to tell you, there was one in there about your grandmother or something. What was that lyric again?
You'll never convince my grandma that it's not a sin, right?
I gotta
That's
tell you,
so true.
this is actually something that came up in another episode we had with Carolyn Chatwick-Merced.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
And I actually shared a secret about my own grandma. And what that brought up was, you'll never convince your grandma that it's not a sin. Well, my grandma taught me pretty much every sin out there. She taught me how to, smoke a cigar. She told me all my dirty
Oh
jokes.
my gosh.
And I got to tell you, and please know that that's not a bad thing. When you sang that lyric, and I was just kind of taken to moments with my grandma, and that was wonderful.
So did your grandma have any tattoos?
She never told me.
Told her, yeah.
And I would not be surprised
I wonder
at
if
all.
she did,
I
and she
hope
just
so.
never told. Now, that was on your first track, right? Of this.
That's the first
of
track
their
on the
CD.
Buffalo Skater.
Buffalo Skater.
Yeah.
And I'm holding it up. Ding, everybody
Yes,
can
I'm
see
holding it up too.
Thank you,
there.
Yes.
I'm really excited about
Wow.
this album. It's got more of a country sound. My first two are more folky. And more pop. I don't know what my sound is really. I just
From your heart.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then my album before this was a collaboration with Sherry Call. It was a children's album, and it was really more folk as well. And but I can't say that either, because there's this rockin' song about being a friend, the buddy system, and robots and pirates, and just I don't know what my sound is.
Now,
It's just fun.
you said, did you work with children? You teach.
Yes.
Now, I'm wondering, what do you teach when you are teaching this? Do they bring their own instruments in? Do you teach them how to write music? Do you teach them?
This summer I'm going to have a songwriting camp with Lacey Williams.
Oh.
She is another songwriter and mother, and we have a choir. We are the Red Rock Children's Choir, and
Oh, really?
yes, and
wonderful.
We started last fall. We've only had our performance last December. And this is our second session, and we're going to have another show at the end of April, and it's been a really great experience. We're at the Electric Theater, and ages 2nd grade to 7th grade, and it's been so much fun. We sing all sorts of songs, and it's just
How fun.
it's so much fun.
Do the children play instruments too, or you just have them in a choir?
Just a choir right now,
Okay.
but we're going to have a songwriting camp in June at the Electric Theater, and it's for young kids, and we're going to talk about self-expression and then song structure, how to form a song, and they don't have to play an instrument. We will accompany them, and it's gonna be a really neat thing, because I think everyone has a song
there's
inside
so
of them.
many.
Yeah,
So many
and it's so
students out there.
therapeutic to learn how to connect your feelings to music.
Now, you said that the students are going to perform in April.
Yes.
There's a performance.
That's for my choir.
That's for the choir.
That's on
okay.
April 29th. That'll be at the Electric Theater as well. And then on June 14th, there will be a concert for the kids who write their song, and then we will have them perform their
and
song.
they get to perform their
yes,
songs.
Isn't that
Wow,
exciting?
that's so
Yeah.
important right now.
It
That
is.
is. I've seen that a lot in my own students, or when I used to teach, how many of them would come up with their own music, and they just need to express that. Yeah.
It's a part of us.
Yes, it is.
And so I think our Red Rock Youth Music is what we're called. We're
Red
a
Rock
501c3, and we're just trying to promote and sponsor performance opportunities for kids, because I think that it's kind of changed over the years. Everything's like competitive.
Yeah.
It's a competition, and I don't think the art should be about, it should not be graded, it shouldn't be judged. It is just to express and to connect to.
Yes. Yep. Take down those walls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, how would parents find out more information about this for their kids?
We have a website, Red Rock Children's Choir, and soon it'll be Red Rock Youth. Man, these words. Red Rock Youth Music.
Ah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I got to ask you, how do you find time to write your music and such if you're the parent of 4 children?
I know. It's been challenging. It really has. But it's also, it just comes. Like, I'll be doing the dishes, and then I will be humming a tune, and like, that was pretty. And I'm going to follow that little tangent. And so there's like little moments that you make it happen.
That's right. Is your family musical as well? Do they share your love for it?
My family, like my parents.
Your kid. Well, let's go both directions.
My parents, absolutely. I grew up in my house. There was always music playing, and my mom is a music teacher, and she was the piano teacher for the neighborhood my whole life, and then she teaches over at Vista right now. She's the music teacher.
Fantastic!
Yeah, and then my dad was theatrical. He was always in plays and wished he could do that more. And then so now my own children, they're just starting. My son plays the bass in the orchestra.
Is that the 12-year-old?
Yes.
Wow.
What a great age to start!
Oh my goodness, he just came to a bass camp, a festival here at DSU.
Oh yeah, with Robbie Matheson.
Yes, he came. And it was so, I'm excited to see his little seeds are planted, and I hope that it'll continue to grow and be of interest to him. And then my others, they're in my choir, and it's just, it's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So you've got your kids going into music, and of course your parents. Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, my brothers and sister. We all sing together. And my brother, he played the drums in my first band, and it was my sister actually sings on this album quite a bit. And I'm really excited about it because I think sister harmonies are just our voices. They are the same, and they're different, but they're the same. It's kind of a fun sound, and it's been fun to be able to sing with Lacey as my sister, who's been buffalo skating with me.
Buffalo skating with you. I like that.
You actually had a wonderful tribute for, what was it, International Women's Day?
Oh, yes.
That was recently. I'm actually trying to pull it up here. I remember reading that when I was doing my creepy, research
right now. Yep, you're going to find it right there.
I'm going to work on it here.
I don't even know where it is. Oh, it was...
Blog. Yep. That's it. That's right. I'm just excited that we push the right buttons here. If you want to do, let's see. Oh yeah, this wonderful thing. Could I ask you, Lindy, to please read this so we can hear your voice read it?
Oh, what would you like?
You're starting right there.
I am so grateful for the rich feminine soil from which I came. I have so many incredible women in my life. On this International Women's Day, I am thinking of them and how they have blessed me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry just thinking about them right now. I am a singer-songwriter, I am a mother, I am a woman, and today is International Women's Day. International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. Am I going the whole way through?
Yeah, just down the next paragraph.
Okay, today and every day, I believe the only one way to be a woman is to stop judging other women. Womanhood is complex and extraordinary. We are vast, we are eternal, we contain multitudes, literally, in parentheses. There is no pin that could place us, no box to encase us. Only our own attitudes and belief systems, our own actions and efforts can tell you who we really are. We are constantly evolving and growing and shedding our skin. Great things accomplished by women around the world and around the corner. Oh, I skipped a line. Today we are celebrating and raising our voices and writing our blog posts to acknowledge the great things accomplished by women around the world and around the corner.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
One of the reasons that I'm glad that you read that, one of the things that struck me as I read that is a lot of times one may be tempted to think if you write a tribute to Women's Day or something like that it's just for women. And one of the ways I gauge, and I agree with you, it's hard to judge, it's hard to grade art and such, but how I gauge art is how it affects me, even if it's from a different perspective, and in this case, maybe even a gender perspective, but also even international perspective. There's a wonderful musical. I do a lot of theater, and the musical is called Serafina. And it was actually put together by school children in Africa. And it was about their experience and what it was like in their culture and such. And I was struck, this is another one of those way back machine things, but I was struck, I was in high school when it came out. And I was amazed by the fact that I was impacted by this story about experiences I couldn't even relate to. And yet it was about the humanity. It was about the people. And that show actually got into what it was like to be a kid versus when you grow up and you lose that sense of being a kid. And I just wanted to share, when I was reading that, I was like, wow, I'm caught up in the genuine nature of it. And
well, thank you.
That's what I hear in a lot of your music as well.
Thanks.
And I love that the competition is down. When it comes to art, we need each other.
Yes.
To uplift each other and help each other.
It's too scary. It's too scary to, if we have this desire, and we'll never face it and become who we're meant to be if we are afraid, we'll never do it.
Yeah,
so.
we need each other.
Yeah.
Help uplift each other and help each other.
I think that whole post, it was about the song that I wrote about being a mom. And I think in the world right now, there's like I know that women can do anything they want to do. It's so true. Like it's just up to us. And then I still feel like it's not, you can be both. You can be a mom, you can be, you can be, I don't know where my thought was going, but we're more than one thing.
Yes, we are. Yes. And I think it's about time that, we've shared that with everyone, share our talents with everyone and help each other. That's what I love about the arts, is just tearing down those walls and uplifting one another. And that's where our joy comes from. So, Lindy, would you be willing to sing us just one little bit more song?
Sure.
Before you leave us today?
Let me think about what to play.
Okay. How about this for putting you on the spot?
I mean, she's got this beautiful guitar in here, and I want to hear some more coming out of her.
Okay, I'm going to play that mom song.
Thank you, Mom.
All righty.
The day is done. It's quiet in the kitchen, and my mind's filled up just like the sink. The water's warm for the washing and the rinsing. When I look down, I can't help but think I've seen these hands before, and I'm back where it all began, and I'm standing where she'd stand. Yes, I am who I am, who I am. I'm deep in the heart of the motherland. The days are long, but the years go by like lightning, and I'm wondering how I can slow it down. All hail the queen of the mountain laundry, wearing a messy bun for a crown. Is that crayon in the dryer again? And I'm back where it all began, and I'm standing where they need me to stand. Yes, I am who I am, who I am. I'm deep in the heart of the motherland. Through guilt trips in minivans, we navigate the motherland, forever grateful for the chance to give our heart away. They say I can't go home again, so we do our best with the time we are given in the motherland. Never alone. Feeling lonely can be the hardest and the greatest at the same time. But making this house a home and giving you every part of me, no, there's nothing I'd rather do with my life. Flash before my eyes and you're sailing away from me, off to discover who you are. And I'll be back where it all began, where you learned how and where to stand, and you'll say I am who I am, who I am. part of the motherland.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was
beautiful.
absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, I figured it out. I've talked about this a lot when we had Michaeline Ibsen on as well as Carolyn. People who have shared their music. One of my all-time favorite artists is a singer named Mark Cohn. And something that I've said.
I love Mark Cohn.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Come
Yes.
to Wake of Jimmy Foster tonight.
I
His
use a
music.
lot of his
music's
music
all
in the
throughout
production.
show.
Great.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when I went to one of his concerts, I was struck by how he was his music when he performed. It wasn't just him performing something that was popular. And I keep using that word popular. I don't mean that diminutively. It wasn't that he was singing something that he knew would bring in money. He was his music. That's the best way I can describe it.
That's what we're taught when you're learning to write. You write what you know. You write what's true to you, and you can take it a different direction. You can be fictional in it, but really, you got to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's where the heart of it is.
Well, I have to say, we've just experienced that here in the studio.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about and what we'd like people to know. Is one of those little secrets we want to blow the lid off here, that we have people who do this and encourage others, even our children, to do this.
Yes. And we got to make sure that everyone comes to this concert Friday, April 12th at 7 p.m. $10 at the door at the Electric Theater with Lindy Butler. This will be a
Thank you so
beautiful
much, you
evening.
guys.
Yes,
I have
thank
to say,
you.
unfortunately, we're out of time.
Now.
But we
Yeah.
do ask that until you hear from us again, you keep your focus on the arts.
Thank you, Lindy.
Thank you, guys.
You've been listening to On the Arts with Michael and Christina Harding. Search Facebook, YouTube,